talking enough about water in your life? Are you taught about water in your life? Probably chemistry, physics, geography, here and there. But have you been really thinking why you have 70% water and why the planet has 70% water? Is it a coincidence? Really? No, it is not a coincidence. There's a science behind it. But at the same time, we have also equal number of women and men. Is it a coincidence that only men are talking about everything around water also, whereas more women are affected and the women also take care of water in the family? So these kind of things really bother me a lot, many a times. Why are we like this in the society? Why do we behave like this in the society? And when I look into the water, I find many answers to it. And I'm always curious, are people really talking about the way water is talking to us? Are we really doing it? Please think about it while I take the journey further. I'm going to focus on water and leave the women aside because that's equally important topic. So why should you talk about water? And that is where we have to start thinking about we are going through water crisis. You may not be facing the water crisis at this point in time because you can afford any kind of water in your life. But it's not far when you are going to face the water crisis. But should you wait for the crisis to knock at your door so that you can start talking about water? Or is talking about water important to really solve the water crisis? Probably not. Because if it was important for you, you would have already been talking about water, honestly speaking. Why? Because if you have 70% water, you should actually spend 70% of the time talking about water. It's a simple math, which we don't understand. It's not about the social construction of identity of a person or any being. The purpose of life is actually to lose oneself into the service of the society, and that's what you can learn from water. But we are in a constant race and a battle where we think that the consumption of lifestyle and occupation is an important aspect to really find oneself doing good. Whereas water teaches us completely different things. Why I am telling this to you? I'm telling this to you because we have to also realize that we are actually carrying a bag of water with ourselves. Does it sound funny to you? It doesn't to me. If I have 70% water, I should be actually considering it as a shape, and I am carrying it every day. Or water is carrying me every day. You can look at the way you would like to look at it, right? So if that water is in you as well, in other beings as well. So if the water that flows in you also flows in me, also flows in other beings, and also flows in the rivers, wetlands, and lakes, and sea. That's why planet has also 70% water. But do you really care about it then? Do you care when you see a nala or a lake or a pond very dirty? You don't, because you are unable to relate that the water inside you is also getting polluted because the water outside is same as it is inside you. You don't relate that water with yourself. Unless and until we see that oneness with ourselves, with the nature, which we all know that we have to live with water, we have to live with the nature, but we really don't mean it when we think about it, we just talk about it. And I think these kind of curiosities really bother me, that why are people not thinking about water? I'm not really curious much about why there is this much of water and why there is water crisis and all, because these are scientific things. There is a human process which is going on. There's this crisis which has come, which is climate crisis, and also urbanization is a new crisis which is producing all the waste, which we call as pollution. I am curious, why are people not investing in themselves? Why are people not thinking about that 70% water they carry every moment in their life? I am curious about people. Because if I have to really look at water crisis and water management, I have to look at people crisis and people management. So if there is a water crisis, if there is a water pollution, we should be able to link it with how the water epidemics, which is waterborne diseases, are rising in the society. You may not relate it. You may not be reading the data. But it is true that there is a serious water crisis which is also looked through the water pollution, and we all face that problem. Maybe we are not unable to connect those dots, and that's where we are unable to see that problem at an individual level, but there are scientists who are working on it. My job is to really bring that hard science into the citizen science and ask people, will you care for water? Will you preserve water? Will you conserve water? And I find a lot of like-minded people, those who are really wanting to do something about water, but they don't know what to do. What can I do? They know that the water pollution is outside. They know there are water diseases rising, but they're constantly really seeking some kind of guidance, some kind of questions they can rightly frame to see what can I do. I mean to serve the society, I mean to save the water, but what can I do as an individual? This is the most important question and maximum question I have received in my life as a teacher and as a researcher. And I think it's not rocket science. Because there's a serious science of water which is going on. What is now required is that you have to really look at it from the common science and from the conscience part of it. Are we really seeing water as being? Because I am water. I think you are not realizing it. If that 70% water is taken out of my body, I am not there. So if I am water, I have to realize it. How do you realize it? If you realize then and then only you are going to work on water, then and then only you are going to do something about water. I'm going to repeat again that you may not be facing water crisis, but it's not far that you will face the water crisis. Nobody must have told you, probably till now, because as I said, you can afford it, but trust me, this is not the way I would like you to really know about water. Crisis is one part of it, but there's a serious thing which you can be curious about water. There are some wonderful things about water which can make learning and teaching and sharing about water much more enriching, and probably that will be the right way to really engage people into the water conversation so that you can also start working on saving water. You can start working on oneself. I think we are not working enough on oneself. Introspection. Even the physical science, as I said, so if you really want to work on water, you have to be like water. So we have to know what it is to be like water. To be fluid, flexible, adaptable, resilient, many more things. You can communicate with water. If you talk to water, water will talk to you. You are in a step towards being water. Water connects. As I said, we are connected as one being. Even other beings, we are connected with them. So if water connects, if water cleans, so you have to really see yourself as a bag of wastewater and constantly try to upgrade yourself, to upskill yourself, cleanse yourself, and make yourself better than yesterday. And I think that's what education does. That's what curiosity does to us. We are constantly learning. And in that process, if we can make ourselves flow like water, water just flows from everywhere. And the biggest purpose of life can be also found from water. Take an example of river. The life of river is all about going and merging into the sea, being one with the sea and the ocean. And that's where you can find the purpose of life. So my purpose of life should be the purpose to solve your purpose of life. If you look at water like that, water is actually there for us. But it's not to be appropriated by us and discriminate other beings in the planet. We are the only species in the planet who are polluting. No other species are polluting. But then our pollution is impacting other species as well as us. We have to really question these difficult things, going beyond the material world and consumeristic world we live, because we are really polluting the planet more than the planet can take us. And the classic example is the lakes, ponds, and rivers, and the drains near your house. Unless and until you sit together and talk about these things, you are unable to solve these problems. So collective action is extremely at the center of water conversation. Please talk about it. We talk about it at W4W Foundation through water conversations. So I strongly believe that water conversation is the fundamental thing to talk about as water conservation. But unless and until you appreciate water, the water crisis may not be enough for you to talk about water. Please look inside. There is serious amount of water which you can talk about. Chemistry, physics, geography, biology, many, many other things. Don't be scared about water. Drink water, but not take too much of water. Know about your constitutional duties as well as rights about water. We consume many more times than we should be consuming water. Visible water, invisible water, virtual water. So we really have to talk about it at dining table, dressing table, TV table, anywhere, cricket ground, school ground. Talk about water if you really want to appreciate water. And in that process, probably we can together solve the water crisis which is knocking at our door. Are you ready to talk with me? Are you ready to talk to yourself? We are not spending enough time talking to ourselves. Please go ahead. Talk to yourself. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your families. It's the same water, same language, and the language is of peace and ecology. The language is of love. Water teaches us that. Let's be one.